So in terms of conceding goals, Barcelona have been in their worst form ever. Like within the past 5 years, in this graph, it has been shown that Barcelona do concede at the very least 1.2 goals per 90 minutes. It is the worst Barcelona defensively that we have seen since 2017. Keep in mind that in the previous season that was being coached by Xavi Hernandez himself, we were on a defensive record. We saw one of the best defensive Barcelona teams that we have ever seen in a very long time. As you can see, back in 2022, we have really been minimizing the amount of goals that were being conceded. But this season, it is the complete opposite. Xavi Hernandez truly lost the unity within this squad. It has also been reported by Opta Jose that Barcelona conceded 29 shots in 120 minutes of play against Athletic Club, their most in a single game in all competitions since at least the 2013-2014 season. It is exhausting. And guys, let me tell you, there has been so many annoying results that we have seen this season. For example, we have seen a 2-4 loss against Girona, a 3-2 loss against Antwerp, a 4-1 loss against Real Madrid, a 4-2 loss against Athletic Club. We have even seen some results that should have never been so hard in the first place. We're like, why did Barcelona struggle so much in this match? For example, Barcelona beat Barbastro, which was like, it was like a third division club, and they barely beat them like 3-2. We saw another match between Barcelona and Almeria. Almeria is one of the worst teams in La Liga, and Barcelona barely won 3-2. And then recently, there was also this match between Barcelona and Unionistas, where Barcelona won 3-1, but Unionistas scored first. And we're like, really? Barcelona struggled like this against a team that played in the third division? So clearly Barcelona are not in a good state right now. It has been just so bad. We're currently third place in La Liga. We have been knocked out of the Spanish Super Cup. We have been knocked out of the Copa del Rey. And now that leaves us with only two competitions that we can be alive in, which is La Liga, and I don't know if we can go into first place, and then we have the Champions League. We don't know how that competition is going to be turning out, but it is starting to seem very serious, and especially for the position of Xavi Hernandez and his continuity. Xavi Hernandez even gave out an idea on what could happen to his future if Barcelona go trophyless, and so this is what he said: if we don't win and we don't win titles, there will be consequences. I have said that from day one. I will never be a problem for FC Barcelona, meaning that if Xavi Hernandez does not win any trophies this season, there will be consequences, and those consequences is for him to leave Barcelona immediately, and he will not try and fight back for his position. He will say, I understand, I want what's best for FC Barcelona, and even if that means that I have to leave this club, I will leave. So in this video, I do want to point out the 4 biggest problems that Xavi Hernandez's Barcelona is currently facing right now. And we're going to be using the Athletic Club versus Barcelona match as a huge reference, because I think that in this game, it showed almost all of the problems, right? It summed up what this Barcelona team is today. So going on to point number 1, and that is that Barcelona are missing a pivot. They don't have a number 6. And let me tell you, for a team to not have a pivot, a central defensive midfielder, it is not normal. It's not normal at all. There is literally like no team out there in Europe that does not have a number 6. Everybody has a number 6, a true central defensive midfielder. We have Manchester City, where they have Rodri. Real Madrid have Tchouaméni. Chelsea have Enzo Fernandez. Arsenal have Declan Rice. As a matter of fact, the biggest transfers last summer, back in the summer of 2023, the biggest spending money went almost to the central defensive midfielders. Like, people spent huge amounts of money on that transfer window so that team can reinforce themselves in the pivot position. For example, Arsenal got Declan Rice, and we had Chelsea sign Caicedo, I believe, and it was like a grand total of like 200 million euros. I'm like, that's insane. It shows you, so it does show us the huge amount of demand there is for a central defensive midfielder, because it is greatly important. And then we have Barcelona, who don't even have one. Now, Barcelona did try and sign a central defensive midfielder, right? We have failed in certain operations, like Kimmich, like Zubimendi, like many other ones, right? And it all led towards our last option, which was Oriol Romeu, a player that Barcelona did not even want. Trust me, they did not want this player. The only reason why we got this player is because we simply could, and because it was such a cheap option, and we just needed players just for the heck of it. But that never turns out to be a real big plan, right? Or a solid plan, because eventually you're going to start seeing the cracks. And every time we see Oriol Romeu now, on the pitch, it is a disaster. And it has been so bad that it came to a point where Xavi Hernandez said, I'm not even going to use a real number 6 in my starting 11. We're just going to go with Frankie, Pedri, and Gundogan. And those are 3 players who are not natural number 6s. If you're going to place Frankie in the central defensive midfield area, he needs to be paired with a true pivot, right? A defensive pivot. That is why last season it worked for Frankie to play in those areas like he is today, because he had Sergio Busquets in the previous season. This season, he has nobody. He has no coverage. And it's up to him to like defend almost everything. And you really think that we should be wasting Frankie's talents on running all over the pitch, trying to intercept, trying to take the ball away from the opposition? Really? With a talent like Frankie, you want him to pick up the ball from the pivot and then go on and make a goal scoring opportunity. Here is going to be an example of what exactly Barcelona is today in terms of them lacking a number 6. So Gundogan ended up passing the ball to Frankie de Jong. Frankie de Jong tries to dribble the ball, but he accidentally loses it. The ball goes straight to Nico Williams. Nico Williams is in a position to have the ball, and then you can see, right, this whole setup just pisses me off. The fact that Barcelona have Gundogan as the number 6 in this situation here, that sums up the whole problem and why Barcelona need a real number 6. How are you going to have Gundogan, a player who should be should be in the position of a number 8 in the first place, defend this situation here with so many Athletic Club players going up against us, and then you have Frankie and Pedri behind Nico Williams? And I'm like, this is the exact problem. Like, this is it. Like, this is exactly why Barcelona looks so vulnerable in the middle of the pitch. We need a true number 6. Here's going to be another frame here where Nico Williams again has the ball, and then you have Frankie and Gundogan up top and behind Nico Williams when they should not even be there in the first place, and then you have Pedri as the number 6, as the central defensive midfielder. That is a problem, my friends. That is the reason why, again, Barcelona look vulnerable. This is not normal. Here is going to be another gameplay on the 70th minute. You can see that Nico Williams has the ball. He passes it towards one of the players. He does a 1-2, goes past, I believe that's Koundé, and then you can see Gundogan trying to mark Nico Williams, but I'm like, dude, really? Gundogan marking Nico Williams on the left flank? That is not going to work out. That is the sum of the problems that Barcelona have. And then you have, Frankie and Pedri not being defensively aware of what's going on. There's a true problem here. Whether it's Frankie trying to defend Nico Williams or Pedri trying to defend Nico Williams in this setup here, even though it's Gundogan, the result was going to end up the same. And it was for him to end up having the ball and take a shot against Iñaki Peña. Moving on towards key point number 2 on the problems that Xavi Hernandez does have, and that is Barcelona being very nervous on the very first 5 to 10 minutes, and especially in the first minute. Barcelona constantly, I think it was around 3 times where they have showed that they were not ready in the first 60 seconds of the game, and they allowed the opposition to score against them. There was this report coming from Apta Jose, who has stated Barcelona have conceded 3 goals in the first minute of the game in all competitions this season, as many as the previous 18 seasons combined. 2 of them came in the 2011-2012 season, and 1 of them came from the 2014-2015 season. You know what's so funny is that those 2 years that I have just named, the 2011-2012 and the 2014-2015 season, those were the best Barcelona teams that we have seen in history. And those were the exact two teams that let the opposition score against them in the very first minute. So I'm like, okay, is this a signal? Is this a sign that maybe this is the correct team, that this is the team that we should be working with, right? These exact group of players. We just need to get them better. And so, it's interesting. But, going back to the conversation, all of this is a mental game right now. This team truly does look unwired, unfocused from the front and from the back. Our defensive line and from the front line, which allows the opposition to score goals in the very first 60 seconds to the very first 3 to 5 minutes. The only player that I see applying pressure in the front line, it is Lamine Yamal. Players like Ferran Torres, Lewandowski, Joao Felix, they don't apply as much pressure as someone like Lamine Yamal or Rafinha. And that's a huge problem, because you know what that leads to? If you're not going to be pressuring, if you're not going to be efficient, if you're not going to be committed to taking the ball away from the team when they have the ball in the first 30 to 45 seconds, you're going to allow them to come into the midfield. And the midfielders, they're going to be shocked. They're like, what's going on? Why is there 6 players going up against us who are only 3? And then after that, they go through the midfield, and then the defensive line are like, oh my God, now it's up to us. And now they're over here trying to shoot against us. And then they end up scoring. you see how the problem and the main problem comes from the front three, because they don't do anything. They just say, yeah, go ahead. You can run through here, run through there. Yeah, come ahead. Go. Everybody gets a run through here, through the middle of the pitch or on the wings. And that is how Barcelona end up conceding those early goals. It is simply because they're just so asleep. And then when the opposition scores the goal, the stadium erupts. And that is when the players wake up. That is when Barcelona are like, oh my God, we just made a huge mistake. And I'm like, really? You guys couldn't wake up from the very first second that this game started? You have to wait for your opponent to score a goal for you to wake up? Really? Why do you want to make it hard on yourself? So what is the answer, or like a solution to this problem? So Jurgen Klopp also had a very, I would say, similar situation to the one of Barcelona. I think this happened to Liverpool last season, where they always, almost every other game, they always allowed the opponent to score the goal first within the first 15 minutes. It was like a constant thing. Go ask any Liverpool fan, they will tell you the amount of stress Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool were going through, because all they had was games where the first goal came from the opponent, and now they had to come back either 2-1 or 3-1 or make it 3-2. And Jurgen Klopp had an interview, and he was saying, okay, one of the ways that we could fix this is to defend from the front. And that is exactly what I have been talking about regarding these Barcelona players. We have to defend from the front. Right? Because if the game starts with the opponent having the ball, like they pass it, it's kickoff time, right? You need to defend from the front. Lewandowski needs to press more. Ferran needs to press much more. Lamine Yamal has to be more efficient in his pressing. Joao Felix has to run much more. Defend from the front. And so when you have these type of things and events happen to you over and over again, having the opponent score, gaining that confidence, gaining the spirit, right? And everything all around, you're going to start getting used to it. You're going to be like, oh my God, like, is it going to happen again? You're going to start getting paranoid, and you're going to start thinking in the back of your head, maybe the opponent could score in the first 30 seconds because it has happened before. And then that is how you gain that habit, and how Barcelona end up being the team that they are today. Moving on towards key point number 3, and that is this team lacking the fighting spirit, meaning there is no character in this team. There is like literally none. And there is no team that has won the Champions League that lacked character. You need to have character. You need to have confidence in yourself. You need to have the spirit. If you want to win titles, you need to have these things. I know that all of this sounds like this is just voodoo stuff and whatever. It's all about tactics, Kevin. What are you talking about? No, like, I think that it's very important for us to have the spirit, to have the character and confidence to carry out these things that we need to do. Because if we don't, then that basically also means that we don't believe in our play and our idea. And if you don't fully believe in your idea, you're going to be making mistakes, and you're just going to be losing or tying every match and just losing points. These players, I see them very bland, very flat, very uninterested, uninspired. And that's a huge problem, because at a team like Barcelona that has huge history of being colorful, of being very self-identified, very characterized, the fact that we have players here that don't show the color, the spirit, I'm like, this is wrong. This is not what Barcelona is. And I do think that some of this does have something to do with Xavi Hernandez. And he's very well aware of what type of intensity this team does not bring, because we don't bring like nothing. It's just we're bland. Xavi Hernandez recently said after like this halftime talk between Barcelona and Almeria, when Barcelona were playing just so flat, so uninterested, Xavi said this: there was no intensity or aggressiveness. I told the players at halftime, it's very worrying that a squad that only won one La Liga title lacks this team spirit. We need to run our socks off. If we don't run like animals, we won't win games. This needs to change. If we can't be clinical, we need to have a soul as a team, meaning that, okay, if Barcelona cannot bring the actual like tactics, these ideas, at the very least have a soul. And that is what I mean. It's part of the game. You need to have a soul. You need to have character, or else, like, what are you doing here? And you know what's so scary about this is that Xavi Hernandez knows this is a problem, and he has called out these players in front of the media. And yet, this interview happened about 2 or 3 months ago, and yet we still see these players acting almost the exact same way. And I'm like, are these players not wanting to listen to Xavi? Are they not convinced by Xavi Hernandez? Is it the problem of the coach, or the problem of the players? The fact that they don't want to listen. Because to me, every time I see like these games happen between Barcelona and Athletic Club, or Barcelona versus Real Madrid, I'm like, where is the screaming? Where is the leadership, the ability to demand certain things, to say like, no, we need to do this. What are you doing? Pedri, run more. Lamine Yamal, run more. Come this way. Come closer. What are you doing? Like that type of talk. Like, where is that character? Where is the every time you go on a 1v1, whether it's a defensive duel or a offensive duel, where's the aggressiveness on that? Where's the conviction? Every time I see, like, let's say for example, Ferran Torres go on a 1v1 with one of the players and he loses the ball, he's like, just looks down. He's like I'm like, no, that's poison. That's poison, right? When Frankie makes a misplaced pass, he's like, like just sad. You know how annoying that is? I'm like, dude, you're a grown man. Do not act like you're 14 years old playing in the streets. Don't act like that. You're playing professional football. You're playing with shoes that cost $190, probably $250. You have the grass so perfectly cut, right? You have everything so well. You get paid 42 million euros a year before taxes, and you still want to be like, after a misplaced pass, really? Like, what is that? Bring the character, bring the confidence. If you lose the ball, go fight back. And when you score a goal, you kiss the badge. And just, you know what I'm saying? Like, bring that energy. I'm trying so hard not to scream in this mic because I know that sometimes the mic does not pick up that extra loudness and it kind of hurts everybody's ears. But like, you guys know what I mean. Be strong, be a man. Show up. When you see your opponent or one of the players that is not in your team have the ball, suffocate them, right? Press them hard. Try use your body. Take the ball away. When you have the ball and you took the ball away from the player, pass it quickly to one of the other players and switch play and go on and score the goal. Suffocate them. Like, why be so passive? You know who you're playing for? Do you know the type of position that you're in? You're in a knockout round. You're playing to win La Liga also. And seeing this type of attitude from the players could be one of the main reasons why Joan Laporta might even sack Xavi, because he might see this as a problem. He might say that, oh, look, the players, they don't look fully convinced. They always look tired. They look like they don't want to represent this badge. Maybe Xavi Hernandez is not the right coach for Barcelona. This could be one of the reasons why he gets sacked in the summer. One of the reasons, not the reason, but one of the reasons. And so lastly, I do want to speak about Lewandowski, which is going to be key point number 4. And I know that Lewandowski scored a goal against Athletic Club, but outside of that, I want to ask you guys this. What else did he do besides that goal? And to me, he did nothing. He was just another player that did nothing. It was literally 10 versus 11. And I really do think, I'm fully convinced. You guys cannot say anything else, but I just think that I'm convinced, okay, that the profile of this player does not suit the system of Barcelona and what Xavi is trying to do. Like, these players literally need to find like the most perfect pass, do almost 99.99% of the work to get the ball to Lewandowski. Like Lewandowski cannot make runs for himself to get that key pass or that through pass or that cross from one of the players. The players literally have to make the most perfect pass ever, take down all of the players that is on the field in order for Lewandowski to do that simple tap in and score the goal, and then do this or whatever he does, right? This is called the Cristiano Ronaldo syndrome, where, yes, at one point Ronaldo was running everywhere, making runs up and down and running behind the defense, but now he's just a player that likes to just sit inside the box and just wait for the players to make the cross. And if the cross does not come to them, he just says, right here, should have been right here. What are you doing? I went over there, should have been right here, right on my foot. The ball has to touch my foot. Like, no, dude, like that's not the Barcelona team that we want to see. We don't want to see a number 9 like that, because those type of passes are not going to be delivered to you like that. We need a number 9 that is much more dynamic, more energized, a number 9 that can do link up plays, that can do 1-2s, that can run behind the defense, because that is just the type of team that Barcelona is. Pedri, Gundogan, Frankie, Xavi, Fermin Lopez, all these midfielders, they're made to make those through passes that lead towards the number 9 who is running behind the defense. They're made for that, okay? And we also need players at number 9s that can go on 1v2s and take down 2 players and give the opponent a disadvantage, right? Where they get shocked. They're like, oh my God, they just took down, that number 9 took down 2 of our players. Now we're left with only 8 or 6. And Barcelona is definitely paying the price for that. I think that Xavi Hernandez knows this, and it's a shame that Vitor Roque has not really been used a lot in the past few games ever since he did arrive. Yes, I know that he had some sort of like small injury, but where was he in the game against Athletic Club? Why not put him in? Why not put in Vitor Roque as the striker, not put Marc Gui, and then put in Fermin Lopez in the central midfield role? Why not do that? And so Lewandowski has been very inefficient this season, to be honest. Like, for example, Lewandowski has 8 goals and 4 assists in 1422 minutes, 1,422 minutes, 8 goals and 4 assists, okay? Ferran Torres has 7 goals, 1 goal less than Lewandowski, and 2 assists less than Lewandowski. And you know what's so funny about this? That Ferran Torres has 894 minutes played so far in La Liga. Lewandowski has almost double the amount of minutes of Ferran, and Ferran Torres is almost beating Lewandowski's numbers. Now, recently, we have seen Xavi Hernandez take that little step of saying maybe Lewandowski is not as efficient as he used to be. Maybe some things are not working out and is not benefiting the collective performance, which is why we have been seeing Joao Felix come in for Lewandowski recently. Lewandowski no longer plays a full 90-minute match. Xavi Hernandez wants to end the games with Felix, Lamine Yamal, and Ferran Torres because he thinks that is the best solution. And so I think that in the summer, there are some things that Barcelona have to do. This is how I'm going to be wrapping up this video. Barcelona have to spend big this summer. There's no way that we can go into that summer and only spend like 8 million euros in total during that transfer window. I think that there is investments that need to be made because of how much this team is hurting. I think that we have to sign another great number 9, a dynamic number 9, and I think that we also need to sign a pivot, a very strong pivot. I mean, like, we need to spend 90 to 110 million euros on this upcoming transfer window. It's important, right? I think that this team really does need it, even with the inclusion of Xavi coming back. By that time, we still need a great central defensive midfielder. And let me tell you guys one other thing that's kind of like outside of this conversation. I think that Barcelona are going to have to go through a very big fight in La Liga, a very big fight. It's not going to be easy because seeing how Girona, Real Madrid are out of the Copa del Rey, we have the Spanish Super Cup also wiped out, is done. Real Madrid and Girona are really going to be focusing on La Liga, and especially Girona. I feel like secretly Girona were very happy to see themselves knocked out of the Copa del Rey because now they can put all of their focus and energy on La Liga. And there is one thing that Barcelona want this season, and that is to win La Liga. And it's not going to be easy. Girona will not be shrugged off that easy. Real Madrid are going to obviously always be there. Atletico Madrid are always going to be there. So this fight is going to be hard and it's going to be crucial and very nerve-wracking because I think that Barcelona must win La Liga this season. They have to, because if they end up second or third place, and knowing that we have already been knocked out from 2 competitions, I do think that it does lead towards the sacking of Xavi, and many of us do not want to see that. Maybe you guys do want to see that. Who knows? But it does lead, ultimately, for me, in my opinion, it does lead towards Xavi Hernandez being sacked. If we end up second or third in La Liga, it is going to be a debate. Now, the whole thing right now is our goal is to remain in the top 4. We have to be good enough to remain in the top 4 to go into the Champions League next season. And then from there, whether we end up in first, second, or third, the board is going to have to debate on what to do with the future of Xavi and whether they should be moving forward to a different coach. It's up to them. But our goal on the short term, it is to remain in the top 4. And so that is going to be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.